All right, let's see if that works. Hey, there we go, everybody. What's going on? There we go. Look, it's Friday night. I figured I'm done doing my errands. I've got everything ready to
All
go.
right, let's see if that
I
works.
can't do this one. Anyway, prep work, right? I don't know. Let's go on good old flow hockey and watch some hockey for once on the TV rather than be in there and see who the Checkers might be playing in the next round. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Right now, after one period, Rochester and Laval, it's 2-0 Rochester. Laval still is a minute 45 of a 5-on-3. So that's certainly interesting. We'll see what they can do here, maybe to climb back into this game. So thanks for joining me, all. I hope you're having a good night. Hope you're having a good week. And I mean, honestly, it couldn't have been too bad of a week if you're a Checkers fan, right? I mean, that Wednesday night game. Oh my gosh. I'll be honest with you. After that second goal was scored there early in that second period, I was like, okay, well, we are going to be in Hershey for another night because that's what I expected. They're a tough team. They know how to battle back. But sure enough, that second goal was probably scored around, I'd say, 8:15 Eastern time. I did not figure that in less than 12 hours I'd be on a flight back to Charlotte because this series would be wrapped up. Unbelievable performance from those guys in Hershey. So, they played really well. I know Hershey was they're looking to three-peat, and that's tough. It's really tough, but it just seemed like they had lost a little bit this year and just didn't quite have it. The Checkers had their number all year, and here is Rochester again, 3-0. So okay, so they had Laval on 5-on-3. But it was not. It was actually Rochester on the 5-on-3. Now they lead 3-0. Isaac Rosean, I mean, they're just moving this puck around. It looks like there might be going to a game five. I know a lot of people have asked me who do I want, the Checkers to play in the next round, and I like our chances against anybody. I mean, seeing how they really steamrolled through Hershey, and I know it went 5 games against Providence in the first round. Well, technically the second round, but I know it went 5 games there. The Checkers were in control of that series from the get. The reason that series went 5 games is because the Checkers stopped playing their game. They didn't stop playing their game against Hershey. That's why they rolled through them. So I think they can stand a really good chance against both teams. Now, there's positives and negatives to Rochester and Laval. Some people have said, well, I'd like to play Rochester because we've played them already this year and we've had good success. The Checkers are 3-1 against Rochester this year, and that's true. And the Checkers have not played Laval anytime recently. Each side of that has a good and has a bad, right? When you're playing a team that you've already played this year, number one, you're aware of everything they do. You're at least open to it. You know what might be coming down the pike. Obviously, playoff hockey is always different than the regular season, and it's been some time since the Checkers have last seen the Rochester Americans. So they're not exactly best friends. It's not like a Hershey or like a Utica or a Springfield or one of those teams that Charlotte wrapped up the season with. But at the same time, sometimes that known element, that also means that they know you. So they're wise to what you're doing and things like that. On the other side, when you have a team that you haven't played during the season or haven't played any time recently, there's that unknown, right? And that could be very difficult to handle. How do we attack them? You might draw up a game plan and say, okay, this is how we're going to go after them. And then when you do that and when you go after them that way, all of a sudden you find out that's not working and that causes you to think on your feet. Ooh, breakaway. Oh, they couldn't get the shot off. Zach was coming in a partial break. Now Val going the other way. Here's a shot. Devin Levi. He's there. And we're going to get some pushing and shoving. You got to love these divisional playoff matchups. Anywho, when you're playing a team like Laval that you don't know, that could always be risky too. But it also gives you the edge. They don't know you. They don't know what you've got up under your sleeve. So we'll have to see what comes out of that and what goes on there. So we're gonna have a lot of fun, I think, in the next series. I can't wait to see who the Checkers are going to ultimately end up going with or going against, I should say. It's not like the Checkers have a choice, but right now with Rochester leading 3-0, I think a lot of people thought that the Eastern Conference Final would be set tonight, but this is right now a pretty good conversation here between these two teams, and Rochester up 3-0. Who? That's the question. Laval. Second period just got underway moments ago. I got home from finishing some errands and doing some stuff, and I figured, you know what, let's go live. Let's watch this game. I consider it a little bit of work. I consider it a little bit of prep, right? I'm going to get to see one of these two teams coming up relatively soon. The other question a lot of people are asking me outside of who do I think the Checkers have a better chance against, or who do I want to see the Checkers play? I think we stand a chance against both of these teams, and I don't have a preference personally. But the other question a lot of people are asking are, what is the schedule and what's it look like? I don't know what the schedule is. That will obviously be determined by the opponent. So Laval finished the Eastern Conference. They were the top seed in the Eastern Conference, which means if they advance, the Charlotte Checkers will be the lower seed of the two teams. And since it's a 7-game best of 7 series, it's a 2-3-2. So it would be 2 in Laval, 3 in Charlotte, 2 in Laval. If the Amherst win, since the Checkers did finish above the Amherst in the Eastern Conference, then Charlotte gets the home ice advantage. So then it would be 2 in Charlotte, 3 in Rochester, 2 in Charlotte. Of course, there could be a sweep, and there's only 4 total games played, and 2 are at home, 2 are on the road. Same thing could be the other way if there's involved in the Laval series. It would be 2 on the road at first, and then 2 at home. So that's kind of what the schedule. At least that's what the layout would be. I have no idea what dates would be. I don't have any idea what times would be. Obviously, arena availability as you get deeper into the summer becomes more and more of an issue, and something that you just have to kind of work around, because obviously Bojangles Coliseum, it's a premier venue here in Charlotte. It's got a lot going on, from graduations to concerts to other events that were planned months and months and months and months ago. And those folks, the CRBA, those folks who are working there in the planning committees and trying to get these acts and trying to fill up that building as much as they can, while they're thinking in the back of their mind, Checkers playoffs, they can't really block off all of May, all of June, and just say, nope, we can't do anything in the offshoot in the chance that the Checkers end up going to the Eastern Conference Finals. So you got to contend with a little bit. And on the same side, Blue Cross Arena up in Rochester going to have the same issues. It's a little different for Laval. They play at Place Bell, which is the home of the Montreal Canadiens. They're out of the playoffs, and it's a bigger multi-purpose arena. It can afford to be empty a little bit more than Bojangles Coliseum can, because it's just supported by a major league club. So their schedule, I would imagine, is probably still just a tiny bit easier. But again, they've got concerts, they've got events, they've got things that you have to contend with. So those schedules, I'm sure, are being talked about behind the scenes amongst the teams, but there's nothing official yet, and there won't be until we know who the winner is. So, those are the two questions that everybody seems to be popping my direction, is who do I want to see the Checkers play, and what's the schedule. But if you're interested, head over charlottecheckers.com. I know we've got $10 balcony seats for the Eastern Conference Final, which is insane. And look, the balcony is phenomenal. I'm in the balcony. I mean, I'm technically in the catwalks above the balcony, but I can tell you how fantastic those seats are. And look, we're trying to pack the building, right? I mean, this is Charlotte, North Carolina. It is not the first city people think of when they're thinking playoff hockey, but we want to change that. We were the last professional team to bring a title to this town, and we're trying to do it again. So we're trying to fill the place. $10 balcony tickets. Make sure you head on over and pick them up. Obviously, you have to have a flexible schedule with that, because if you're buying tickets today, they're going to be undated until we know who we're playing and what the dates might be. So got to be a little flexible about that. But look, it's Charlotte Checkers hockey, and I feel that's a feeling. So block off your calendars. 14:28 left to go in the second. Rochester with a 3-0 lead over Laval. This is looking more and more like it's going to a game 5. All I want to know is who are the Checkers playing in the next round. It's one of these two teams. That I know. We're going to be playing a red, white, and blue team. That I can tell you. I promise you. Take that to Vegas. I'm listening in on the away feed here right now. Don Stevens, the veteran, just the legend. He's spent over 30 years with the Rochester Americans. This is the only English feed, as Laval is pumping out the French feed on the home side. But yeah, Don Stevens, such an awesome gentleman and such a veteran. One of the greatest guys. His color analyst tonight is Andrew Mossbrooks, who seems to be the heir apparent for Don when he gets ready to hang him up. And Andrew does an awesome job. He was actually an intern with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, much like myself, 1 year after me, as a matter of fact. So the two of us kind of came up through that same program and our Bob road truck tree. How you guys doing tonight? Oh man, let's see. I do want to see a good game, and I don't want to see this get out of hand. But 3-0 Rochester. I honestly surprised us. Your back's against the wall. I mean, they were aided by a 5-on-3 goal, but let's see what happens here. There's a lot of transition game from kind of what I'm seeing right now, which I think is going to benefit the Charlotte Checkers. They're a lot faster than almost every team in the league, and they can be physical at the same time. Ooh, 2-on-1. Here's Laval looking for number 1. Oh, they chip it over the net. Ooh. Laval has had 2 good chances here in probably the last minute to make something happen. Devin Levi's been so good. So good. I know he seems to be kind of just hung up in the American Hockey League. The Sabres have tried to get him up a couple times. It just seems like he's not quite ready to take the NHL full time. But man, this campaign, not only this postseason, but last year as well, he changes everything. Yeah, he's looking good. 11 shots for Rochester. They've got 3 goals. 11 shots for Laval. They've got 3-0. 13 minutes left to go here in the second. Dr. Shada for popping in on the chat. Good to see you. Good to see you. You'd think she's asking, who are your favorite NHL play-by-play and color guys? I grew up with Mickey Redmond and first Dave Strader and then Ken Daniels. Ken Daniels is fantastic. Obviously, you hear about the legends. You hear about the Mickey Redmonds and you hear about Dave Strader was fantastic. I grew up listening a lot to Doc Emmerich because I grew up as a New Jersey Devil fan, and then when he switched over to the national side, you hear him a lot. Gary Thorne was always a favorite. When ABC had the rights to the NHL. My current guys, though, that are out there, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about my broadcast coach, Jim Jackson, for the Philadelphia Flyers. I think he's phenomenal. I grew up listening to him too, being just in Lehigh Valley and being so close to Philadelphia. Comcast Sportsnet, you just kind of turn it on, and I'd watch some games just because I was addicted, even if it wasn't necessarily the Devils. I still wanted to watch some hockey. So Jim Jackson, fantastic, and I'm so lucky to be able to call him a friend. John Forsland, I think, is fantastic. Mike Maniscalco, another really nice guy who took over for Forsland in Carolina. But I would probably say that, my current favorite guys are probably, and I know this is a lot of, I can hear the groans already and I haven't said it. I mean, how can you go wrong with Steve Goldstein and Doug Plagens down in Florida? They are some of the best. We talk about Goldie on TV and just, I mean, his catchphrase, "Let's go home, baby," is unbelievable when they score in overtime. When you talk about Doug Plagens, his Stanley Cup championship winning call from last year, fantastic. I mean, those two guys, they've offered so much support over the years as well. So they're definitely up there. They're definitely near the top. It becomes a brotherhood. You start to get to know people. I can send a couple of text messages right now, and there's a few NHL guys in my phone, and so you get to know them on a personal level. But when talking about my favorites and like who kind of crafted my style, I think I'd probably be talking about more of the Gary Thorns, the Doc Emmerichs, even the early Steve Levy's. Um, he's got a different tone, I feel, and maybe this is me with revisionist history. But maybe I think he sounded different when I was a kid, and maybe he really hasn't changed much. But I definitely liked him as a younger guy. I truly enjoy someone who's got good pace, good inflection, and can keep with the moment. I don't want a guy that's talking to me like it's sports talk radio. I don't want a guy that sounds the same level all the time and is afraid to show any emotion either. So I tend to gravitate towards the guys that are more like me, or at least what I try to be anyway. So it's a long-winded answer for that question, Dr. Schotterford. Thanks for joining us here tonight. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Where you guys coming from? Where are you tuned in from? You guys out and about tonight? Are you at home? What's going on with everybody out there? We're live on Instagram. We're live on X. We're live on Facebook, YouTube. We're having a good time. Trying to get to all the chats. I'm on 4 different platforms here, so we'll see. We'll see what we can get. But how many of y'all tuned in the other night? Who caught the game on Wednesday? I had a lot of fun on Wednesday. Oh, Laval gets one. Okay. All right, we got ourselves a game. Levi has cracked for the first time tonight. 12:15 left to go here in the second. Still plenty of time in this one. Oh, man, you got to... Oh, he just wheels around the net, circling, throws it on goal, a rebound. Was right there to put it home. That's on the defense. That's absolutely on the defense. You got to keep pushing him and not let him get that shot through. Jacob, thanks for tuning in. I didn't know it was happening. I got home. I was running some errands and I was doing some stuff night after work. Had dinner with the fiance, and then I was there. And I'll be honest with you, she's watching a movie, and the woman in the movie like went on YouTube Live or was doing something. I was like, you know what? Rochester and Laval's on. I could watch that and go live. So I threw it on. This was not planned. I didn't think about doing this one. And I figured, you know what, impromptu, sometimes the impromptu parties, the impromptu events, the things that you do, sometimes they are 10 times more fun because you didn't even know it was going to happen. So I figured I'd just jump on. So if you're out and about like Jacob, thanks for tuning in. Oh, man. So who do you guys want to play? I'm curious to hear your opinions. I threw up a poll earlier today on, I think I threw one up on Twitter and I threw one up on Instagram. I'm curious to see who you guys want to play. I told you my standpoint, and if you're just joining us, I think the Checkers can take either of these teams. So I feel really confident about their chances. But I want to hear what you guys think. So let me see what the official results were of the poll. Oh no, you know what? It was Instagram today, and 68% of y'all wanted. Well, I asked what happens tonight. 60% of y'all said Rochester forces game 5, which 11 minutes left to go here in the second. That's looking kind of likely. It's 3-1 Rochester. 32% said that Laval will advance to game 5. So that was the Instagram. What are the old X? I'm sorry, I called it Twitter, guys. It's a bad habit. I can't get it out. It's been harder for me to stop calling X Twitter. Oh, Rochester with another one. Josh Dunn is second of the night. Okay. Going back to that, though, So it's been harder for me to stop calling X Twitter than it was for me to switch over from the Powerball power play to the Cash Pop power play. And let me tell you, doing the latter was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. It took me 2 whole weeks. When I knew that change was coming, I was just in my car driving to work, and I'm like, Cash Pop power play, Cash Pop power play, Cash Pop power play, just to change it after 3.5 years of doing the Powerball power play to change it to the Cash Pop power play. I'm honestly going to have to now sit in my car and do Cash Pop power play, Cash Pop power play all this week because I said Powerball power play a couple times. Now that little nugget is going to get stuck back here, and I'm going to subconsciously say something stupid. So I've got to get myself out of that rhythm before it even starts. But I still call it Twitter. Sorry, I'm never going to call it X. I think I've accepted defeat. They're not sponsored. They're not sponsored though, so I don't really care. Cash Pop Power Play, they're sponsors, so we got to make sure we get that right. All right, so on Instagram, 68% thought that Rochester was going to win the game tonight, and on Twitter, 83% thought that Rochester was going to force a game 5 tonight. So, and again, looks like everybody who chose that, well, you're on the right way. I mean, it's 4-1 Rochester over Laval. And I mean, it just looked like Laval had a little bit of life there, and Rochester's like, nope, we're going to take that right away. Toby, thanks for tuning in. I know the Austin Bruins season is done. Shorter than everybody would have liked, but thanks for tuning in from Iowa. Are you right across the border? Are you in Ames, or where are you at? Are you Mason City? Are you closer that way? I mean, you have to be pretty close to Austin if you're making that trip up across the border. Shots 14-14 across the board. 4-1 Rochester. Devin Levi's been playing pretty good in this game. Josh Dunn with a pair of goals, if my math is correct. I should pull up the official score sheet here. Hold on. There's another game going on tonight, too. Texas and Milwaukee. I can't recall what happened on Wednesday in that series. Yeah, Texas has the chance to close out, so the Stars could advance to the Western Conference Final. Colorado and Abbotsford, they've got another game that's coming up tonight too, and that is 2-1 in favor of Abbotsford. So they're going to be dropping the puck at 10 o'clock Eastern. So right now, it looks like Rochester, if these scores hold up, Rochester's going to force a game 5, which comes up on Sunday. Maybe we'll do another one of these. That might be fun. I take that back. Can't do it Sunday. Got some plans for the Memorial Day weekend. What are you all doing for Memorial Day? Anything I can steal? Any ideas? I'm seeing a friend Sunday night. I'm going to catch up with him. But other than that, let's hear what your plans are. What's curious is with Charlotte knocking off Hershey, Texas having a 2-1 series lead and a 1-0 game lead right now, and Abbotsford with a 2-1 series lead, all of the lower seeds either have won their series, in the case of the Checkers over Hershey, or have the series edge with the chance to close it out, except for Rochester. They're the only team who's the lower seed in their matchup that doesn't have the series lead as of right now. And they won't have the series lead even if they pull this off. It'll be tied, and then they will not have the series lead even if they win on Wednesday because the series will be over. It's like winning in overtime after trailing the entire game. You still never led in that game if you score the overtime winner because the game's over the moment you score. I always think that's fun to say. But it's true. In terms of time, never led in that game. Okay, okay. Yeah, I've been there. Jacob, I get it. I know the suspicion. The cash pop power play, I get it. You know, changing. Jacob says on Facebook that he wonders what the power stat before and after the Powerball power play to cash pop changeover. He's suspicious that our power play woes started around then. Our power play woes truly started in early December. We switched over the cash pop power play to become the cash pop power play later in, I think it was like midway through January. It was like right after the turn of the calendar. The real reason the power play started kind of hitting the deck a little bit is because of the losses to Aiden McDonough, Ryan McAllister, Mackenzie Entwistle. The guys that were up there getting it done were helping. You know, Jacob Magneb not being with the team for a little while also hurts. He was a guy that was playing on the back end for the Checkers a little bit there. So truly that is the reason why. And you think that it just kind of slowly, gradually declined because it did, but it's also because they were so astronomically good on the power play in the first month and a half, 2 months of the season that even coming up empty every single game for 20 straight games would barely move the needle because they were converting at such a high clip to start the year. So they're still basically on the same trajectory that they were on to end the year. And of course, you still don't have McAllister. You still don't have McDonough. These were guys that were getting it done on the power play for him up until they got hurt. So that's really the answer. It's not the NC Education lottery deciding to change the name from power play to cash pop power play. That's totally in their right to do so. They just want to focus on the new game, which is a lot of fun. If you haven't played cash pop yet, a lot of fun. Definitely go check it out. I always like to pop in and try that out. You know, every now and then I'll play Powerball every now and then. I'm that person, you know. When tell me when the winnings are over, you know, 200 million or something ridiculous. Then I'll spend the $5 on Powerball. Other than that, I don't really participate. Best team in the West, Texas. Texas looks good. Justin Ritzkowian, the rookie, oh baby. He leads all skaters right now in the American Hockey League in points in the postseason. He looks phenomenal. I think Texas is probably the most team in the West. I would love nothing more than a Charlotte Checkers, Texas Stars Calder Cup final if we are so lucky and talented enough to get there. I think we are, but the hockey gods may say otherwise. I would also love it at the NHL level to see a Florida Panthers Dallas Stars Stanley Cup final. And if the two of those can happen at the same time, imagine the attention that would bestow on the AHL. That would be phenomenal. I think that would be a storyline every news media would pick up. The two Stanley Cup playoff teams or Stanley Cup final teams with the two Calder Cup final teams, and they're all affiliates. I think that would be super cool. It's possible that it can happen. As a matter of fact, today, for those of you who didn't see, Bill Zito, the general manager of the Florida Panthers, has another nomination for the Gem of the Year award in the NHL, and Jim Nill, who is the general manager of the Dallas Stars, also nominated. And I don't think it's a coincidence that both of those gentlemen have AHL affiliates who are also still going, because the decisions they make at their level do directly affect us. They don't make decisions at their level thinking, how is this going to affect the Charlotte Checkers? They don't. Sometimes they do. You know, when there's deadline day deals, they're not going to necessarily take the best player out. Ooh, breakaway. Ooh. You know, but sometimes there's that windfall, you know, and I don't think that's a coincidence that both Bill Zito and Jim Nill are GM of the Year candidates once again, and both of their NHL and AHL affiliates are deep in the playoff run. I don't think that's a coincidence at all. Burberry Gary, thanks for tuning in, man. That thing that you gave me, I'll get that taken care of. Don't worry about that. But Thank you. Yeah, we did get back safe. I was on a 5 a.m. flight yesterday morning to get back to town. Got rolled in around 6:30 or so, and then headed on into the office and took care of business. So, yeah, it was a quick turnaround. For those of you just joining the stream, I wasn't sure. Wednesday night, I was sharing a booth with Mari Murby, who is our videographer. So I at Giant Center, it's a great vantage point to try and get some of the videos. So they have it's like a true NHL building where you have like your own room. You have a door behind you. You're like in your own room. It's your own cubicle, if you want to call it that, and had plenty of room. So she took one half, I took the other half, and through the commercial breaks, it might have been the intermission. We were just kind of saying, "Ooh, I don't know, we might be back here tomorrow." And then when Hershey scored that goal, just 2:05 into that second period, we both just kind of exchanged a look. We were saying the same thing, like, well, we might be back here tomorrow. But all of a sudden, man, those boys, they turned it on. They score 5 unanswered. Unreal, unbelievable performance. And not only did you knock out the Atlantic Division champions during the regular season, not only did you knock out the two-time defending Calder Cup champions, you knocked out a team with some pretty heavy firepower that, in my opinion, made the rest of the league go, oh, Charlotte's for real. And I think that sends a little bit of a message, and at the same time, you get pretty amped from that. I mean, it's hard to not walk away from a series like that against a team like that and not feel like you're just on top of the world. Now, this is the veteran leadership's job, and this is the coaching staff's job to make sure that they don't get too high with that. So that's what they're going to work on. You don't want to think that you're, impervious to losing or that you will never lose again. It's not realistic, and it's not a good way to think. Confidence is one thing, ego is another. Toby, great question. How much of an advantage do you think it gives Deckers that they get a longer break after the sweep going into the next round? Very big. Very, very big. I think especially consider, so the Checkers had that first round bye, right? And for those of you who tuned in the first broadcast of the postseason when we were in Providence, one of my keys to the game was, is it going to be rust or is it going to be rest? What did the Checkers use that time off to get better and get healthy, or did they accumulate rust? We found out quickly after they beat Providence 5-2 and got those two shorthanded goals in under 30 seconds or whatever the time was there. We found out very quickly that they were well rested and not well rusted. I think having that experience of that scale, because remember, they went almost 2 weeks without a game. I think when you go that long without a game, it's tough. This is not going to be 2 weeks. You know what I mean? This is going to be a maximum a week, because I would think, I have no idea what schedules are. For those of you who are just joining us, a lot of people have asked me, do I want to win this series against Rochester Laval? The other question they're asking is, what's the schedule? I don't know what the schedule is. I don't know when games are going to kick off. All I know is who's going to have home ice advantage based on who wins. If Laval wins, they get home ice advantage. If Rochester wins, the Checkers get home ice advantage. So I can tell you that it's 2-3-2. So if Laval wins, it'll be 2 in Laval, 3 in Rochester. 2 in Laval, 3 here, 2 in Rochester. Back in Laval. 2 Laval, 3 Charlotte, 2 Laval. If Rochester wins, then it'll be 2 Rochester, 3 here, 2. Or I'm sorry, it'll be 2 here, 3 Rochester, 2 here. So I think maybe they might open things up midweek or maybe Friday of this coming week. I would guess. I don't know at all. Building availability is crazy and all that stuff. So I think this is a much shorter time frame for them to garner up any rust. So I do think it's going to be good. For those of you who had some eagle eyes for the Checkers home games against Hershey and the final game against Providence, Mackenzie Entwistle and Ryan McAllister both warmed up with the Charlotte Checkers for some games over the last couple of weeks. That's encouraging. That means that these guys are very nearly coming back. Now, I have heard head coach Jordy Kinnear say that he doesn't want to rush those guys, especially since they've missed a lot of time. He doesn't want to rush them back in, and with the chemistry of the team as it is, I'm sure that's going to play into it. You don't want to just necessarily drop an ice cube into boiling water. It could mess up everything. But I do think that gives them the chance to get a little bit healthier. For the guys that did play, you're just not as sore a week later, as opposed to, 2 days later. Let's say the next series does start midweek this coming week, and this series that we're watching here, Rochester goes 5. That's going to end Sunday. So all of a sudden, if it's a midweek start for the Eastern Conference Final, say Wednesday, you're looking at you get 3 full days of rest. And if it's Rochester who wins in Game 5, that game's in Laval. So one of those days of rest is a travel day. And then one of those days, they might even just travel right from Laval to Charlotte, So rather than going home, because if they went home on Monday, they'd have to leave on Tuesday if there was a midweek game for Game 1. Because, if it was Rochester, will open at home. I don't know dates. I don't know times. We'll know as soon as the series is finished. But I'm just kind of trying to figure everything out based on what I've seen from the previous rounds. But yeah, that's kind of where we sit there.
Coming to the right of Levi. Yobbs chased out. Warren now steps in. With 2:28 to go, second period. Get in top of the spot. Long shot.
Yeah, Burberry Gary says it's wild that the Baby Bruins took us to 5 games, but we sweep Hershey. I think that is more of an indictment of our flaws in that first series than it was Providence. I think it's a better way, instead of saying it's wild to see that the Baby Bruins took us to 5 games, I think it's better to say it's wild to think we let Providence take us to 5 games, because those games were just not our best games. Head coach Kinnear says every single post game, it doesn't matter what's going on, to just go ahead and play a full 60 minutes, right? It sounds cliche, but something that needs to happen. Those 2 losses against Providence, they were barely a full 20 minutes. They definitely were not their best games. So I think, like I said, that's more of a statement on the Checkers' flaws. Then they go into Hershey having experienced that, and they're like, we're not going to let this happen again. And maybe that's the best thing that could have happened. It's the second round, your first playoff round, against a team which you're better than and you're going to likely beat, but you kind of get humbled a little bit and they push you to 5 games because it gives you a little bit of a taste of what could happen. So when you go into the Atlantic Division Finals against Hershey, the 2-time defending Calder Cup champions, the team that they are, how difficult they are, the Atlantic Division champions during the regular season, you kind of have that in the back of your mind, like, oh, yeah, if we take our foot off the gas at any point, we might not be able to battle back the way that we barely battled back against Providence. So I think that was a good experience to learn. Anybody who's caught any of the broadcasts, you might have heard me say something that is truly something I don't believe, or I do believe. I don't feel that any team who has ever won a championship, I don't care what sport, I don't care what level, any team that has ever won any sport has gone through some kind of adversity. Nobody sweeps every single opponent and just round after round after round. Every team has some kind of adversity. For the Charlotte Checkers, all year it's been next man up, the injuries, finding guys like CJ Smith and Capo Kakinen. Burberry Gary makes a good point about, he's just been fantastic for the Checkers all year. That's the adversity, kind of letting Providence come in and make your life tougher. That's adversity. Those are the things that you learn from. That's how you win championships. And I think they're not only experiencing these things and they're keeping them in the back of their mind, but they're truly learning from them. So just back to your point, I don't think that Providence took us to 5 games as much as we let them take us to 5 games. But the second period just wrapped up here. We got a little bit of a watch along. Laval and Rochester. It's 4-1. It was 2-0 at the end of the first, and now all of a sudden 3 goals. 2 for Rochester, one for Laval in that very busy second period. Don Stevens, voice of the Rochester Americans, probably needs to drink a hot tea or have a lozenge or something there after those goal calls. Wilkes-Barre losing was a shock. Jacob, if I could be 110% honest with you right now, I'm going to look right into the camera and be candid. I was terrified of Wilkes-Barre. Absolutely terrified. When they got knocked out by Lehigh Valley, that is when I started thinking that this team could kind of make a run. I knew that if we did end up playing Lehigh Valley, we could take them. I knew, Providence was a little bit of an unknown, but I felt that since they played each other so much at the end of the year, they knew them, that the scouting report on them was going to be there. I felt really good against Providence. They were probably the team that scared me the most out of the possible advantages, but I still liked our chances. Hershey, I'll be honest, I always kept respect for them in the back of my head. I always told myself, even when I was doing that game on Wednesday night, and it was, five. What did they made it 5-3. Even then, I'm sitting there going, "This is Hershey we're talking about. This is not over." So I always respected them, but I still felt we were better, and we showed it during the regular season. I still felt that we were better than Lehigh Valley. We showed that in the regular season. I didn't think we would struggle with them. Wilkes-Barre was a team that I felt if they got out of that first round, which I didn't expect Lehigh Valley to beat them. I sit here and say that I felt that if they got out, back in that moment, I was telling myself when Wilkes-Barre gets out, they're going to be a problem for us. And, hey, they got taken out. And, I still think the Checkers would probably win a 5-game series against them because you do get the advantage of momentum a little bit better in that regard. But, yeah, they scared me. I'll be honest with you. They're a very, very good team. They're going to be very difficult next year as well. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We are watching the Laval and Rochester game here. It's game 4. Rochester with their backs against the ropes. They've got a 4-1 lead over Laval, looking to push a game 5. That'll come up on Sunday. I think it's Sunday at 4:30 is the time for that game. Let me pop that open. Yeah, it's 4:30 Eastern coming from Laval. So we'll see if Rochester can pull this out. Of course, we're all waiting to find out who are the Charlotte Checkers going to play in this Eastern Conference final coming up. Is it going to be Laval or is it going to be Rochester? It's like I said earlier in the broadcast. I can tell you it'll be a red, white, and blue team. That I can promise you. Of course, the Rochester Americans, the farm team of the Buffalo Sabres, the Laval Rocket, the farm team of the Montreal Canadiens. Burberry Gary kind of echoing the same sentiments. Yeah, letting the 2 games slip definitely helped the boys mentally in the long run, I think. 2 goals in the game, 2 goals in game 3 with Hershey probably felt like an anthill. I don't think they saw it that way. Again, I think they have a healthy respect for Hershey. And, before we went into that series, I kind of expected that series to go. Let me take this back. I didn't know how long the series was going to go. But when the Checkers took a 2-0 lead over Hershey with those games at home, I kind of figured the series would go 4. I thought maybe we would come out a little flat in game 3, which we did, but not be able to recover. And they would kind of wake up. It would be like a microcosm of what happened in the Providence series. Instead of, messing up 2 games in a row and going, oh, it's game 5, I figured they'd have turned it around and won it in game 4. I was pleasantly surprised by those 5 unanswered. Oklahoma Warriors went undefeated in the playoffs that year. No, so Toby asks, in the North American Hockey League, which is Tier 2 Junior, it's where I came from before I was working in Charlotte. I was working for the Austin Bruins. The Oklahoma Warriors went undefeated in the playoffs that year, ultimately beating the Bruins in the finals. Have you ever seen anything like that in the AHL? No, I have not seen anything like that. I don't think you will see anything like that. I'd have to do research on it to find out if and when that's ever happened before. I would guess that if it happened before, it was probably a long, long time ago, because the one big difference that the NAHL and the AHL, North American Hockey League and American Hockey League, have, the biggest difference between them is the parity in the leagues. The NAHL, there's what, 36 teams now. All of a sudden, these are kids anywhere from the age of 18 to 21. They're not fully developed in their hockey skill set. They're not fully developed as young men yet. So it's one of those things where you can find some teams that are just absolutely head and shoulders above others. Whereas in the American Hockey League, these are the blue chip prospects for the National Hockey League. And you know that old phrase that on any given Sunday, it's a football reference. On any given night in the AHL, any team can beat any other team because the parity is there. They are so similar. Any team can beat any team. So I think going and just being undefeated in the American Hockey League is that's just unheard of. It's also, you got to talk about the amount of rounds. I mean, the Charlotte Checkers, in order to win the Calder Cup, all right, now they had a bye, so they earned 2 free wins there. They had to get 3 against Providence. They had to get 3 against Hershey. They then had to get 4, which brings you up to 12 against the next team. 4 in the Calder Cup Finals to win it all. So you're going to need 16 total wins in the postseason to get that done. And I don't see any team ripping off 16 straight wins in the playoffs. You don't see teams ripping off 16 straight wins in the regular season. In the NAHL, it's obviously a little bit different because you have, what, 5-game series in the first round, which is 3 5-game series in the second round, and then you do a 2-game series, what is it, a 3-game series in the championship round, and then it's a 1 game for the title. So, you know, it's a little bit different. You're comparing apples and oranges in the sense that, yes, they're both fruits. Yes, they're both hockey, but they're vastly different. Sandy joined the stream. I'm really rooting for Laval. Would be awesome to finally see them in Charlotte since they didn't play in the regular season. Yeah, Laval is the only team from that division that I have not seen personally. This is my 4th season with the Charlotte Checkers. We have not played Laval at all. We've played Toronto. We've played Rochester, Utica, Syracuse. We've run through every team that. Oh, I take that back. We have not played Belleville. So that's 2 of the Canadian teams. But going back to an earlier point that I mentioned, you know, when you play a team in a best of 7 that you have not seen in quite some time, it's a very interesting wrinkle. There's the fear of the unknown. You know, you don't know how you're going to necessarily match up with them, but at the same time, you could also weaponize that unknown because they don't know you. So it'll be curious to see if that's what's going on. But Sandy, I hate to tell you, it's 4-1 Rochester right now at the end of 2. This looks like it might be going to Game 5. I'm not saying that Laval won't win and won't ultimately end up in the Eastern Conference Final against the Checkers, but they've got a lot of work to do. They're going to have to either climb back and score 4 unanswered here in this third period, or they're going to have to do it on Sunday. While we're sitting here in the intermission, I'm going to go grab myself a little beverage. I'm a little parched from talking here. I think I've got a Diet Coke calling my name. So I'm going to go grab that. You guys are going to be staring at my lovely wall behind me. I think it's just all previous year Checker teams and the team posters, but and a cork board. But say hi to Zach Dalpy. He's on the wall behind me. I'll be right back.
I saw some post by the AHL about the playoffs, and it's talking about, you know, this many games and competition and this and that, and it was like grueling travel, and I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. Grueling travel is one way to describe it.
I remember one of those trips. It's never a fun one. Bus rides to Providence. Lengthy, but your last game in that building, you scored the overtime winner, and it was a milestone. I believe it was 200 professional goal. And that's, I believe that's the last big milestone you hit in your career. Is that something you'll look back on, or are there other games during your time in Rochester that stick out?
I always look to the playoffs. Like, the first year was crazy when we lost our last game of the season in Cleveland, and like Toronto had to lose like 3 straight for us to get in. We were playing Belleville like every single one of those games. We lost it. We snuck into the playoffs. Then beat Belleville, who helped us get in, and then we beat the 1 seed in Utica in Game 5. And like that was just a crazy ride. We lost to Laval in the division championship, and you're like, how is it going to get much better than this? And then the next year we go to the conference finals with, so many young guys and just pretty much a brand new team. And then last year we had a really good year, and we finished tied for first place with Cleveland, I think it was. And then, they beat us in the tiebreaker, and we got to play Syracuse in the first round and lose 5. And that, that game 4 in Syracuse, it down 3-0 going into the third period, and that tie it. With a broken hand, big goal. Like, I didn't even play. I'm getting goosebumps.
Oh, I'm back, y'all. I know. Shoot.
Just crazy.
I know the last time we did this, some of you guys out there made fun of me with the Frescas. I still drink Fresca. I've got a whole case of it outside. I don't think you bullied me into not drinking Frescas, but I do want the Diet Coke tonight. Team's got practice tomorrow, so I'm gonna.
You just go down a list and guys that you played with and come across just crazy situations that happen throughout here.
I feel like this is one of those conversations we could have a whole 60 minutes spent on.
I know, just reminiscing the glory days.
It's fun to do. We'll have to do this again sometime. But before we let you go on this time,
all right. So what are you guys thinking? Let's talk NHL. All right. You know my allegiance, right? I'm a Florida Panther guy through and through. What are you guys thinking?
I'm just watching
it. It's looking like they're steamrolling. How many people? Let me ask you this: how many people watched last night Carolina and Florida? Folks of you that are out there that watch, how many of you watched that game? Curiosity. I did not see it. I was so tired. I don't know if you guys heard before. 5 o'clock flight. Got in about 6:37. Took a full day. So by the time I came home last night, boy, I didn't even see puck drop. I was out. So it was. I couldn't even stay up and watch it. I know it was an 8 o'clock puck drop, but that was a long day yesterday. So, did you guys? For those of you who did watch it, let me ask you this question: how much? Even if you were a Carolina Hurricanes fan, if you're a Carolina Hurricanes fan and a Charlotte Checkers fan, I am asking you this question: how much of the Charlotte Checkers did you see in the way the Florida Panthers play? It's uncanny, and obviously that's by design, right? I mean, that's the whole point. Earlier this summer, it was during the new ownership announcement, I spoke with Paul Krapelka, who's the general manager of the Charlotte Checkers, and he's the assistant general manager, I believe that's his title, with the Florida Panthers, who said that the goal is, with the affiliation, the exact same style of play all the way down to the ECHL level, from Florida to Charlotte to Savannah. Bam, bam, bam. That's the goal, right? Boy, are you seeing it. I know that they've been kind of implementing it a little bit here and there over the last couple of years, but we are seeing it full bore. It was when you see guys like a Brad Marchand, the Charlotte Checkers equivalent, in my opinion, is someone like a Justin, sort of small, the pestery, kind of in your face. And then you've got guys. You know what? No, I see you've got a Marchand who's more of kind of like a Priscilla or a Will Lockwood, a little pestery, kind of like smaller in your face. You've got a Matthew Kachuk for them, who I could see as like a Justin sort of, or a Sam Bennett. I could see him kind of in that same, that thing. Then of course you have good puck moving defensemen like Nico Mikkola, equally good puck moving defensemen down here, and Trevor Carrick and Mike Benning, and then it's just the one anomaly I think that Florida has that the Charlotte Checkers don't necessarily have is who's the Barkov equivalent. I don't know that the Checkers necessarily have that. Maybe John Leonard. He's obviously not the same frame as a Barkov. He's not, he's not like a power forward, like Barkov is, but he still puts up the numbers. He was the points leader. Things like that. It's very similar. Jacob Hubner. There's an actual dead rat in front of my car yesterday. I knew the Panthers would win. Hey, they won. They won big. They won big. I know a lot of people out there, Canes fan, Burberry Gary saying Canes in 6. I don't know. I don't know. It can happen, obviously. Anything can happen. But they've lost their last 14 straight games in the Eastern Conference Final. Did you know that? 14 straight. They have been swept for 3 consecutive series. That's the first 2 of this series. That is unbelievable. And after being swept for 14, winning 4 is going to be very tough in a row. I could see them maybe winning 2, evening the series, and then back or something a little bit. That could absolutely definitely happen. But in 6, I don't know. I don't see that happen. That'd be 4 in a row. I can see them. I can see them winning 2, then maybe give 1 up, and then winning 2 more. That's kind of the extent of that. So, happy Memorial Day. That game tomorrow, I believe, flips on at 7 o'clock. Let's check out the old NHL.com and get the schedules here. It's 1-0 Oilers over the Stars right now. And Burberry Gary says boo Stars and boo Mikko Rantanen. I don't know if you were here earlier, Gary, but some of us, myself, Dr. Aaron Schottefer, who was on chat earlier, we would like a Charlotte Checkers and Texas Stars Calder Cup final if we could get it. And also at the same time, I'd love to see a Florida Panthers and Dallas Stars final at the same time. I think that would be fantastic if all 4 teams in the 2 leagues are all affiliated. Well, not all together, but you get the idea. I think that'd be super cool for the league. I think it'd be super cool for just exposure. And national media is going to pick that up, and Checkers are all of a sudden going to have a spotlight on us. So that's kind of what I'm rooting for deep down. And then, of course, I'm rooting for the team to ultimately hoist the cup for the 2nd time in 6 years. Yeah, Garrett, you're right. He says, listen, TJ, on a long enough timeline, we have to win 1. You do. I just don't think that timeline is long enough yet for you to win 4 in a row. I don't know that that's going to happen. McDonough could compare to Barkov. He's also not that big. Barkov is more the guy, I think, what is he listed at, 6'3", something like that. He's a little bit taller. He's more of like Giles was a little bit more even taller yet, but he's like that big body, and that's how he plays. And I don't think Giles necessarily has the offensive hands that Barkov has. But McDonough, yeah, he was certainly the playmaker for the Checkers until he got hurt. What was I doing? Oh yeah, I was looking at the what time is the game tomorrow? Carolina and Florida. Saturday, 8 o'clock tomorrow night on True TV, Max, and TNT. So yeah, we're here. We're watching Laval and Rochester right now. The 3rd period just got underway. 4-1. The Americans with the lead. They got 2 goals in the first, 2 goals in the second. They had a 3-0 lead at one point, and then Laval made it 3-1, and then Rochester got another one back. And that's the momentum killer, you know, when you're losing by 3 goals and then you finally get on the board and then moments later they go, no, you thought you were going to get another one? No, that the next one's ours. Thank you. That can really be demoralizing to a team, but well, one thing I'll say right now, I mean, and I've only watched this one shift, but Laval doesn't get in very deep near goaltender. Like when they take these shots from the outside, there's a rebound there, but there's no one within like a 20-foot arc around Devin Levi. And I don't know if it was just that shift. You know, maybe I caught them at a bad time and they're in the middle of changing or something like that. But I know that they've been relying on speed. I've heard that from a number of people about how fast this Laval Rocket team is. Um, they have rockets on their skates. But I think that plays in well to the way the Charlotte Checkers play a game because we can be just as fast. When you talk about Chris Colo and Sordiff and Leonard and Lockwood, um, we generally do get the edge on teams, but we also play a little bit more physical. Right now, I'm not seeing a lot of physicality from Laval. I'm seeing a lot from Rochester's. They're just kind of enforcing their will right now. Anybody out there got the game on? You guys watching on Flow Hockey? Question for you: are you watching on the away side or the home side? If you say the home side, I know you're lying. It's in French. Harry Nostrand, what is up? Oh, Harry. He's about to break out his Checkers jersey for the next round. Good. Good. Mark Covert came to one of the games against Hershey with Brian and decided to wear, although it did have the Checkers logo on it, he still wore a tan shirt. It's like, buddy, read the room. I'm just saying. I know it's still a Checkers shirt, but come on, man. You can't wear tan when the one tan team in the league is playing here. I had to give him a little bit of a ribbing for that. But yeah, break out that Checkers jersey, Harry. Come on. Jacob Hubner asked, what caused the hole in the Hershey defense when Mike Benning just walked in and scored in game 3? I've seen nothing like it all season. A line change? It's funny because it was just a miscommunication. What it was both defenders decided to take the back route, so they were just backing out because they figured the other was going to attack. Usually, in that scenario, when you're lined up kind of vertically like that, one person goes at him, the other person fills in behind. They both assume the behind role, and that left the whole lane for Mike Benning to come in. And it's so funny because I'm going to try and talk to Mike tomorrow at practice, and I want to ask him what his thought was when that was happening. And I guarantee you it's going to be something. He'll probably be politically correct about it, and he'll give Hershey their props because he's a good kid and he knows that, the right way. But I promise you, in real time, in his mind, he was saying, what are you guys doing? You're just going to let me have this lane? Okay, fine. I'll take this lane. I'm going to take a shot. Because this is exactly what it was. I mean, you could almost see it in his body language. I was completely shocked that happened. Not shocked that he scored, just shocked that he was able to walk up from his own defensive end. He gets to the blue line. He's waiting for someone to pressure him, and then there's no pressure. And he's just like, okay, I'm just going to take a shot. And my voice cracked in the goal call because I was just so flabbergasted. I was just like, he scores! Like, I can't believe that just happened. What happened here? So that was incredible. Kevin, come on! You're watching The Visitor. Give me a break. You got it on mute? Oh no, you're watching The Visitor. My bad. My bad. My bad. I'm sorry. Everybody's got to be watching on the Visitor side, right? This is the English feed. Don Stevens is a legend in the American Hockey League. His color analyst, Andrew Mossbrooks, for those of you just joining the stream, he was an intern in Lehigh Valley the year after me. So we both kind of got our start under Bob Roadtruck in that tree. I had the pleasure of meeting Andrew for the first time when Rochester came down earlier this year. When were they in Charlotte? Uh, I don't know. December? Yeah, December. So I had the pleasure of meeting him for the first time because I didn't know him. He was the intern underneath me, but we get to know each other via Twitter and social media and stuff. And I followed his careers. He started after Bob. He got started in the SPHL just like I did. He went a different path. He is Andrew is going the ladder by rung by rung on his way up. He went SPHL, which is single A, ECHL. He was in Cincinnati, which is double A. Now he's in Rochester, triple A. He's the number 2 in Rochester. A lot of people think he's the heir apparent for when Don decides to hang it up, and if he ever decides to hang it up, he's a legend. He can do it as long as he wants. How many people do you know get something named after them, whether it's a street or, in Don's case, a press box while they're still working there? That's Don Stevens. It is the Don Stevens press box in Blue Cross Arena in Rochester. He's a legend. He can go as long as he wants, but Andrew does a fantastic job alongside of him. So those are the two voices that y'all are hearing if you're watching this game on Flow Hockey. Yeah, you're right, Harry. You can't trust him to make the right call. You can't. And for that happened. I'll give him a pass because it was the Checkers military shirt. It was the tan shirt with the olive drab green logo. I'll give him a pass. He was at least repping the home team. But come on, man. Not tan. What are you guys doing for Memorial Day, huh? Anybody going anywhere? Anybody doing anything cool? I'm sticking around town. I was just out of town, albeit for 16, 18 hours. I don't know that really counts. But we're going to be out of town for the upcoming series at one point or another, so I'm sticking around Charlotte. Laval has a power play right now. One thing, and Don's called him out on this a couple of times, every single time a Laval Rocket player gets hit, the fans think it's a penalty. And that is so unbelievably annoying to me. I do not like it. Hershey was a little rough with it this past week. If there's one thing about me that I hope all of you who tune into the broadcast pick up on, I am the voice of the Charlotte Checkers. My broadcast will always be slanted for the Charlotte Checkers. I will always be more elevated in my goal calls for the Checkers than I will be for another team. I will still get excited when the other team scores, not because I'm happy, but because it's a hockey play and it's an exciting play, just a negatively exciting play in the case of the Checkers. But it deserves that elevation. It's a fun game. It's a big moment. It's a big save. Whatever happens, whatever team it's for, it deserves elevation. It's what keeps the game from being too boring, right? But there's one thing that I try to do is not be a homer. If the Checkers commit a penalty that is obviously a penalty, yeah, okay, I'm going to tell you the way it is. These fans who just think every time one of their guys gets upended on the ice that it's a penalty, it drives me crazy. Nothing says I don't understand the game quite like that. And I know for a fact that these Laval fans know the game. They are Canadians born and bred. They know the game. So now you are just flat out telling me you are a homer. Just how I feel about it. Oh, yeah, that's right. The Coke 600 is at the Speedway on Sunday, right? What's the difference for the Coke 600 and the rope? Don't they do two? Do they do two races? I'm not the biggest race guy, so I can't tell you. I grew up in an area where we had a kart track, CART, kart racing, which is basically it was a slower form of Indy cars, or might have been a predecessor to Indy. Not quite F1 speeds, but so we were more open wheel racing, what I grew up with. And even that was just me and my dad going to like time trials. That was kind of the extent of it. So what's the difference between the Coke 600 and the Roval? Is there a difference? Jacob says he could hear the irritation. That's because I had held back. He's commenting on there was a hit. I can see it right in front of me. It was on the blue line. One of the Bears got hit from behind, and not even really like directly behind. A hit from the behind if you have the puck is fine as long as the guy's not you're not being boarded. This guy was about 10 feet off the wall. He got hit from kind of like this way. It wasn't directly behind. It wasn't a cross check either. Someone came in and just shouldered him and he fell. And the Hershey fans wanted to call. And that was probably the fifth time I had seen something happen that they wanted some bogus call for. And I had just had it at that point. I don't like it. It's like, I know you want your team to win. I know. I get it. I want my team to win too. But at the end of the day, I I want to also know the game of hockey, and you just sound like you don't know what you're doing. Look, if it's a close call, it's a close call. Fine. I get that too. But when it's egregiously not a penalty, come on, guys.
Back out to center ice. As the puck pulled down into the Rochester zone along the near wing, taken by Perrin-Hole. Pass on a slot. Hammers get a piece of it. That's knocked down, and they come away with it.
Oh, okay. So Kevin clued me in on what the difference is here. Coke 600 is run on the oval around the outside, and then the Roval is on the infield road course in the fall. Gotcha. Okay, cool. I raced go-karts on that infield on the Roval. That was a lot of fun. That was probably 3 seasons ago. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Thanks to my friend Chad at Redley SCS. They sponsor the ice crew. If you have any kind of like industrial buildings that need cleaning or anywhere that you work that needs someone to come in and do a nice job, they're a fantastic company to look into. That's Redley. But he had me out there, and boy, we had a lot of fun. I was the slowest driver on the track, but I'm comfortable enough in who I am as a person to tell you that, one, I am not a daredevil. I don't like roller coasters. I don't. That's not me. Number two, I'm also not a very mechanically inclined person. I can drive a car, obviously. I can drive things like that. But the handful of times I've been asked to run forklifts and do things like that, it's not my forte. I'm not the greatest at it. No one's going to get hurt. I'm just going to take a while. I'm going to be very slow. I'm going to have to actually think about what lever does what. And I'm going to have to be super. I'm just going to take my time with it. So that's kind of the second thing. And the third thing is I was by far the largest person there too. And that really plays into it when you're talking go-karts. So I didn't want to go that fast. I was terrified that I was going to mess something up or that I was going to wreck and you know, but it was still a lot of fun. We still got up to some good speeds. Yeah, I am from the land of Andretti's. As a matter of fact, my father used to babysit Michael. So yes. Ooh. Oh, come on, get the camera over there. I can hear the fans going. I don't care about this. Oh, God. Nothing makes me appreciate Zach Harvey and the rest of the Charlotte Checkers crew, our directors, our camera ops, everybody. Nothing makes me appreciate them more than watching a game from another arena. I mean, there was clearly some action that was going on behind the play. There was a whistle was blown, and they're getting ready for a media timeout. It's the 10-minute media timeout. I get that. But they're keeping the camera on the guy who last touched the puck as he's circling the ice. And you could hear everything going on in the background that something crazy was there. And by the time they flipped the camera, it was too late. Still haven't opened my Diet Coke. Looks like Rochester's going to get a power play here, which significantly increases the likelihood of a Game 5. I mean, it's really tough when there's 10 minutes left and 1/5 of those you're going to spend down a man unless you're the Charlotte Checkers and you have a penalty killing unit that loves to score goals and is good at scoring goals the way we are. I mean, you can't really count on anything. You can't expect anything to happen here in the next 9:53. So this will be interesting. 4-1 Rochester with the lead. No goals here in the third period. I mean, it was 2-0 at the end of one, 4-1 at the end of two. It was a busy second period, but we got into a little bit of a drought here. Who are the Checkers going to play? Who do you guys think they're going to play? What is your heart telling you? What is your mind telling you?
At lunch today. Greg sends me a message saying we should go to Marathon Greek restaurant in Laval. I don't know if I can do another 3 warm-ups.
If you guys are watching the AHL TV feed on the away side, their mics are live through the commercial breaks. And that is, I've had some people ask me every now and then, why does that happen? It's usually because they have a terrestrial radio station deal with a radio station as a board op in studio. So their feed is going out to the radio station, and the radio station is cutting their mics and playing commercials over their air. And what they should be doing on their end is also muting their mics, but they likely aren't. It was just funny to hear Don Stevens and Andrew talk about if they win this game, they should go to the Greek restaurant in downtown Laval. I thought that was pretty cool. You hear a lot of stuff, and it's not the worst thing if you hear them talking. I mean, it's usually you'll hear Don say, put the two breaks together. He's communicating with the board op back in that studio in Rochester and telling him, like, hey, we need a little bit more time and stuff like that. There's things, myself and Justice, we do that all the time. When it's a home game, Justice doesn't travel, but when Justice and I are up there, we have the ability we have a back channel. It's called what's a back channel. So I can hit a button and I can still use my same headset mic, and he's wearing a headset as well, and I can tell him something and y'all don't hear it, but I can tell him the same thing, like, hey, let's add another 15 seconds here, or let's do this, or can you look up the last time this happened, or have you seen this guy back on the ice after he got hurt? So working with Justice, we've gotten that down to a pattern, and you're just hearing some of that stuff here on this Rochester feed, which is pretty cool. If you don't experience that every day, if you've never been in that booth, you might not know what that is. So for those of you who are wondering why when they go to commercial break, you don't hear any commercials and all you hear is them talking, that's why. It's because they are throwing their feed to a radio station which is playing the commercials over terrestrial radio, and not through AHL TV. Now, a lot of people might be thinking, well, TJ, hey, you guys are on 92.9 and 550 AM and all that stuff. How come we don't hear you? It's because I control everything from my booth. We don't have a person in a studio for WAME. I play everything off of my laptop. Justice controls it. And we send out the same thing that goes to AHL TV, goes to WAME, goes to the app, goes out to ESPN CLT, or if we're on ESPN radio, they get that same feed. So it's already perfectly encompassed when we send it out, whereas what they're doing is they're sending it out to a radio station and they're just keeping their mics and their crowd stuff going out to AHL TV. So that's what that's all about.
Down the corner, however, bounced off his stick, pushed back to the near point, and then the Hammers get to it, playing along the near side. Keep seeing. On top of the slot.
Jacob says, our Jumbotron camera is the best angle we have, but it's also the worst sometimes. It is very cool. I love the, I think it's called the Pixelot, is what they call it. That's the industry term. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. That's not my industry. But I love when they get some replays from there and you see them in the replay highlights. When you see it from center ice and you can see the whole zone from the back end, especially when we have some good lateral movement on a goal or something like that. It's so cool. I do like the Jumbotron angle. Obviously not something you want to watch a broadcast in. The center ice panning angle left and right is what you want.
Playing around behind his net, drops it back in the near corner for Hellenius. And from behind the net, Hellenius starts to work forward. He'll give it off to Austin.
Burberry Gary wants Rochester for home ice. I get it. I think we proved how crucial it is to win two games, at home first, which is exactly what happened. If the Charlotte Checkers end up playing Rochester, it's a 2-3-2 series, so the Checkers will get two at home, and then let's say they do earn two wins there. There's the potential of anywhere from 2 to 3 games in Rochester, and then we would end up coming back to Charlotte for Game 6, Game 7. But at the same time, we've also shown we can win on the road. We have won 8 straight on the road. 8 straight. That goes back to the end of the regular season. That's pretty good. They won their, what was it, 2-game set. Who was it? Utica? Yeah, it was no, we finished the season. It was, yeah, we won Bridgeport, Providence on the road. That was 2 out of 3 of a 3-3. Then we won our final 3, Hartford, Springfield, to end the regular season. Then we won the 2 at Providence and now the 1 at Hershey. So that's 8 straight on the road. So I'm also not scared to go on the road. I think it's a little different to go to Laval. Again, a place that the team doesn't know, hasn't been to. We don't have anybody on the team that played in Laval that could kind of give you a little bit of an edge, you know. Jacob asked, why is the audio so much better over AHL TV? Same exact reason, because everything's going into Mixler and AHL TV. It's being sent out. But here's the big difference. AHL TV, there's 2 real reasons. Number 1, it will leave my computer and my mixing board and go into a mixing board that's in the arena. It doesn't matter if it's Bojangles Coliseum or Giant Center or wherever we're playing. It goes into a mixer, into what's called an encoder, which then overlays the video on top of it. And that can kind of compress the audio so it doesn't always sound as good. And then it goes all the way out to Flow Hockey headquarters. So it becomes a balancing act for me to try and have everything at least a tolerable level. If I boosted AHL TV, because it gets changed a little bit. It's like making a copy of a copy. Does that make sense? Like when you go from my board and my booth to another booth, to another board, I should say, in the arena, to then out to AHL TV, where they add the video over top of it. It gets kind of compressed a little bit. When you make all those subtle little changes, it changes it just enough that, you know, whisper down the alley, it's an entirely different audio. Whereas Mixler is directly straight out of my computer, straight into Mixler, and that's it. Nothing else. Same thing with the app. So there's no other changes. There's no other audio settings. Nothing. So I try to find, and this is a challenge every single broadcast, that happy medium where you can. I'd much rather you have to turn your TV up on AHL TV than to be blown out on Mixer or the app. And the reason for that is because the people who are listening on the app or are listening on WAME or are listening on Mixler straight, they can't see the game. So if they also can't understand me or I'm become hard to listen to, that's a problem. I will lose that entire audience. Whereas the people watching on AHL TV, if they do have to just turn their TV up a little bit, well, so be it. They'll still be able to hear it. Everybody will be happy. It's just a minor inconvenience that you got to turn your TV up higher than you normally would. There is a way to fix that, but it would require assistance from the visiting team every single time we go up there to find their board, which sometimes it's run by, it might be a union run building and you have to find a union rep to go in there and change it. Sometimes they don't know where it is. Sometimes they don't want to change it for you. It's just, and then you're also doing tests like, okay, well, here's where I'm at. Can you do this? Can you do that? It becomes too difficult. It's too much, because then they'd have to change it for a different broadcaster coming in. There are standards at the NHL level where everybody's using the same equipment across the board. All the arenas, all of the broadcasters, everything is the same. Whereas at the AHL level, we're all using the stuff that we use to get on the air is mine. You know, if tomorrow were to roll around and, you know, I am not able to call a game, I'm not going to be able to explain how my gear works to someone in a pinch. It's my gear. That's kind of one of the things. So on the road, we always call. We have to do a test with AHL TV. But again, what we're all worried about, AHL TV and myself, is peaking. We don't want it to get, when we get excited and we get too loud, we don't want it to be unlistenable that way. If it's too low, it's okay. If it's too high, it's never okay. You can always boost it, but you can't bring it back down once it gets ruined. Yep, under 6 minutes to go, shorty. All right, we're going to a game 5, guys. So now we got to wait till Sunday. You know what, though? That's okay. I'm all right with it. We got Florida tomorrow night. We got Sunday at 4:30. I might jump on and I might jump on and do live. I don't know. I got to meet a buddy at 6:30. So the game's at 4:30 on Sunday. I might jump on. We'll see. We'll see. And 4:30 is a tough time. So I hope that kind of answered your questions. It's just a lot of technical stuff that's involved with it. It's not plug and play. It sounds pretty good at our home arena because thankfully I'm able to work with the building staff and Zach and his crew and everything to get it dialed into exactly where I want it. But I don't have Zach and the building crew with me to change every arena's audio and change all of their stuff around the way that I want. And, there's just subtle differences between setups and all that stuff. So, yeah, and Jacob said the same thing. He was watching Game 3 and he had to turn up the audio. And I had gotten that from a lot of people. I know Nick Najelski with the Charlotte Checkers. He texted me. He's like, "Hey, you're a little low." And they brought in, Hershey brought in a mixer for me to also dial into. I could have gone in from my mixer to another mixer to then into their studio mixer in an attempt to boost it. But the audio was clear. You just had to turn it up on your TV, and I didn't want to risk it. They brought me the mixer, Zach Fish, the voice of the Hershey Bears. I was texting him in the first period. I was like, "Hey, man, people are telling me it's too low normally." If one person says one thing, that's fine. But I was getting a trend, and, Nick's texting me and saying, "Hey, it's a little low." Zach comes running over with a mixing board. He's like, "Here, try this. This is from the building. This should, boost you a little bit." But I didn't want to risk it. I kind of turned myself up just a little bit. But I didn't want to risk it because I knew if I did all of that, I would be blown out on the radio stations that we're on Mixler, and worst case scenario, the folks watching it on AHL TV just got to turn their TV up. So that's that. If you ever hear a variance between me and the commercials, that's my fault. So I know you might have heard that throughout the year. I will be honest with you. I am a human being. That's my fault. It's just settings and how I have everything set up. I'm not the levels are not even. So that's on me. So if that ever happens, that's something that I can fix in a heartbeat. But I think we worked through that.
And all of this is happening at 15-17.
I'm looking at this game right now. Shots on goal, 22-20 in favor of Laval. What are both of these teams going to do when they go up against the Charlotte Checkers? They have 20 shots and 22 shots respectively. And are not playing a team as defensively sound as the Charlotte Checkers, who held Providence to 8 total shots in that game 5. They held Hershey to 2 shots in the second period on Wednesday night. I mean, that is the staple of the Charlotte Checkers team. Man. It's 5-1 Rochester right now. They're talking over penalties right now. I think if you're the Rochester Americans here, look, you've got a 4-goal lead. There's only 4 minutes and 43 seconds left to go. If you're an American, what you're thinking about is obviously next game. I think everybody in the building is probably thinking about game 5, but it's just to not make dumb decisions that are going to hurt you physically. Now is not the time to try to get some kind of even more of a mental edge over Rochester, throw some ridiculous hit, send a message. Now is not the time, because what will happen is you're going to end up hurting yourself. You're going to hurt a teammate. Something will happen that's going to hurt you for game 5. You've already got the mental edge. You're beating them pretty tough, right? It's 5-1. Just, yeah. You know what I mean? You can't do anything stupid. Don't buy into any of it. Don't slash. Don't hack. If a guy punches you and starts giving you face washes, just ignore. The D really changed when Kierstead went down in a good way. Jacob, I could not disagree with you anymore. Absolutely not. No, the D has been phenomenal all year. They allowed 12 shots on goal in total against Bridgeport. That was their previous low on the season. Back in March, they also did the same thing, 12 against Hershey in a game. This defense has been strong all season long. They have not allowed any shots. They have allowed the fewest shots on average in a game in the American Hockey League by a long shot. By a long shot. Matt Kierstead is a big reason why they were so good. It hurts not having him out there. Um, and his offensive production. I mean, he had 20 some odd assists during the year. Uh, Defense really has not changed much, and that's honestly says something about Dennis Sasana, who's just stepped in and played this postseason, has done really, really well. But they're missing Kierstead, they're missing Megna, who's still up with the Florida Panthers. So I hate to say it, Jacob, but I'm sorry, I cannot disagree with you more. I really like the way Kierstead plays the game. He's not flashy. He is not a guy that is going to make you go, "Wow, he's amazing." He's not Mike Benning. He's not Trevor Carrick. He's not as heavy-footed as a Mikolas Havorka. He is just smart. He's got good hockey IQ. So they're in their final media timeout. 4:43 left to go in the third. This has really just been Rochester's game all along. So now we get set and ready to go. And Rochester's on the power play, it looks like. So this game is in the books. In the books. Not a lot of happy faces there in the crowd in Rochester or in Laval, watching their team lose this one. This is a perfect opportunity to. You're up 5-1. You're on the power play. Let's say this was the Charlotte Checkers, right? Let's say this is them. There are 4.5 minutes left to go here in the third. They're up big. They're on the power play, and they have a struggling power play. Now is the time when you get to try some stuff for free. You get to maybe take some of the risks that you wouldn't normally take, or if you have kind of been thinking, you know what, I'd like to see this guy quarterback the play, or I'd like to see this guy on a power play line. Now's the time you get to do all that stuff. With this game winding down, there's a tomorrow, barring some kind of unbelievable miracle. Go ahead and give it a shot. Try some stuff.
To dig it out, tried to lay it back at the point, but taken away by Laval and brought up ice along the near side. Up with an Angstrom, enters the along the near boards, chased all the way down the corner by Betza, and helping up Rosea, able to slip it behind the net for Clay. Have 40 seconds to go in this power play.
At the same time, if you're Laval, you don't want to get risky, right? Like, you don't want to take such big risks, risk of getting hurt, risk of. Honestly, it's the biggest risk is getting hurt. Trying to go for a goal that's going to make it 5-2 shorthanded goal that makes it 5-2. Now's not the time. It's just bleed this down. I'm curious about the Laval fans coming. How they're going to travel. That's a good point. Carolina Reaper, he says, I kind of want to play Laval because I want to see how well their fans show up coming down from Canada, but I like the familiarity of Rochester and home ice too. I'm wondering, if I had to guess, I don't think the Laval fans travel that well. And the only reason I say that is because they are in Montreal. I mean, Laval is a suburb of Montreal, right? And I just don't, as much as the Canadians are diehards, I just don't think I see them wanting to come to Charlotte for any reason, even hockey, for their AHL team. I really don't know. I could be totally wrong. I could be absolutely wrong. I mean, you wouldn't think that the Bridgeport fans travel as well as they do. You wouldn't think that the Hershey fans travel as well as they do. But, you know, this is the Canadians, so maybe they will. I'm curious about that. We'll see. Jacob Hubner says his shot looks slow on TV, though. I'm assuming you mean Kierstead? Yeah, I mean he's not Mike Benning. He's not Trevor Carrick. He is not what you would call an offensive defenseman. His shot is not meant to be hard. He's not going to win the hardest shot contest anytime. His job is to play defense. You know, that's like saying, you know, my left guard isn't as fast as my running back. Well, it's not. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like it's not what he's there for. He's got a different set of responsibilities. And that's why Matt Kierstead, he's got 1 goal this year. I think he had 3 goals all of last year, and 2 of them were empty netters. You know, he's there to set things up on the back end and to be a stout defensive defenseman. Some defensemen are not going to get on the score sheet, and that is okay. And they have to be okay with that because they have a different duty. They have a different job. Still got some John back and forth. Hoffenmeyer getting involved with Hellenius there. Wow. If that number is right, I just heard Andrew Mossberg say that it's going to be more than 72 penalty minutes in this series. Look, Laval was by far the most penalized team all season. I think they had 1,161 penalty minutes during the season. What's the math on that per game? I mean, that's insane. If it's 1171, I'm doing this by memory. It's been a minute since I looked, but they're averaging 16 penalty minutes a game at 1161, if that's the number. That is unbelievable. Yeah, you know, Kevin Weaker says that it is playoffs too, so maybe they will travel. And it's not like the Canadians are doing anything, right? So if you are a diehard Montreal fan, it's not like your NHL team's doing anything. So let's go, you know, travel down and see what the AHL guys are doing. But he also mentions that he's seen some Gull and Cuda fans show up at the Biscuit too. But I would also challenge it. I'd love to see if we could find the Barracuda fans and the San Diego Gulls fans that have shown up in the arena, and are they really from California right now, or are they like most of us, transplants who have come here from somewhere else and they just still repping their hometown team? And before they could even drop the puck again, we got Xhekaj going to the box. We're now over 100 penalty minutes according to the Rochester broadcast. Unreal.
Down to 6 players that they could use on their bench.
As the puck was not dropped, we'll try it again. Face off coming to the left of Levi. Now behind the net, that's spun around the near boards, tipped out over the line. Oh, there is Mayo. Takes a whack at Hellenius right in front of the referee. No call there. And the puck now.
There's definitely a penalty that wasn't called just now. It happened right in front of the ref, and I'll tell you right now, it's because the refs do not want to be there anymore. There's 1 minute and 20 seconds left to go in this game. They do not want this game to go on any longer. I mean, geez, it's, 10-10 right now? This game went on at 7 o'clock. We're almost 3 hours. And then we got Hellenius going at it with Mayu. Oh, my gosh. Guys, let it go. The game's over. Mason Yop's in there now. Let it go. Like, I know you're trying to set the tone for Game 5, but this isn't going to get it done. Let it go. You've got to let it go. If you're either one of these teams and you're not thinking about Game 5 right now and you're still thinking about what happened tonight in Game 4, oh, man.
If the league were to look at some of this and think it gets too out of hand, you could be a team without one of your top players and an important player in a do-or-die Game 5.
There's Waugh tying up Metzis, so Metzis going to be invited to lead. Waugh's going to be invited to lead.
So prior to
Gotta love rivalries like this, right?
I think so.
You know, this kind of reminded me of what we saw with Charlotte and Providence.
By the way, prior to all of this that just happened, Don, we were at 112 penalty minutes. So this will, I imagine, add to that.
soon as I said that, I thought, oh, I shouldn't have said that. That's the wrong team that needs the players. Yeah. Well, we got all the players over at the respective benches now as they're separated.
Just getting out of hand. Making this, it's making the game go on even longer. We're looking at almost 3 hours to get this all figured out. You got 6 goals, those are stoppages. You've got countless penalties, those are stoppages. You've got delays like this as they sort out the penalties. You've got media timeouts. You've got regular saves and frozen pucks, and it's just.
Everybody's got to pack up. They've got to load up the gear and unpack tomorrow, and then unpack and repack and unpack again on Sunday. Just want it to be people helping people, Don.
All right, we got a pivotal game 5 coming up. So most of the people, for those of you just joining, I put up an informal Twitter poll and Instagram poll today, and 68% on Instagram said that Rochester was going to force a game 5. On the other side, on Twitter, it was like 73% thought that Rochester was going to force a game 5, and that was about an hour ago when I looked. So those fans, you guys are knowledgeable. That's one thing I've always said is don't try to fool our fans. They know what they're talking about. So you guys nailed it. Kevin Week, you're absolutely right. You know who will probably show up in a Laval sweater if they came here? Dennis Swan. You're absolutely right. I could see Dennis rolling in with a Laval sweater. And honestly, he'll probably be wearing some QMJHL sweater if we end up playing Rochester as well, because I think there's been a couple of guys that came out of the queue on the Americans team. So, yeah, I could definitely see him wearing a Laval sweater. And I'm sure he's rooting for Laval just so he could talk in French to some of the players.
On the right side, stops, looks around, and drops it tight, drop it back at the point, hits a skate, and the puck ripped away and down ice on goal. Levi drops it, throws a pass on.
I know Levi has stopped north of 20 shots. I don't remember what the exact totals are. But he hasn't really been tested too much today. I will say playoff beards are awesome. We've got mine. It's a little bit longer than I normally like to keep it. My hair doesn't grow that fast, and I'm not a very hairy person in that regard. But my mustache, what little of a mustache I have, it's just growing long. It's not growing full. It's just growing long, and it's on my lips, and it bothers me so much. But I am not. I threw out a text to some people whose opinions I respect, and I said, hey. I know it's a playoff beard. You don't touch your beard. There is no anything, but what's the rule on trimming? I've got basically out of the 6 people I think that I asked, 5 of them said you don't touch anything. One of them said that trimming is allowed in between rounds. I did not trim between Providence and Hershey, so now I'm not going to trim between Hershey and between Hershey and whoever we play here in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm gonna keep the mustache that annoys me. We're gonna let it bother me. So, but that'll do it for this game. 5-1. Rochester gets the win. They force a game 5 coming up on Sunday. And hey, all of a sudden we could be taking on the team from New York, or we could be going north of the border. It'll be exciting. Eastern Conference Final. We don't have dates. We'll know once the team who wins, once that gets finalized. I'm sure there are dates that are being discussed between the teams. They might even be finalized, but they're not public. They haven't been shared with me, so it's one of those things where we just got to wait and see. So again, if Rochester wins Game 5, it'll be 2 at home in Charlotte, and then anywhere from 2 to 3 in Rochester, because it could end up. It could just be 2 in Charlotte, 2 in Rochester if there's a sweep. And then the final 2 will be in Charlotte. So 2, 3, 2. If Rochester wins, it's Charlotte, Rochester, Charlotte. If Laval wins, then it's going to be the other way around. Laval, Charlotte, Laval. And of course, it's a best of 7. So games 5, 6, and 7 are always if necessary because there could be a sweep. So that is what's going on there. So head to charlottecheckers.com if you guys don't already have your tickets. $10 balcony tickets, so get all your friends, get your family members. you are buying an undated ticket, so you got to make sure that you're ready to go, because when I say you're buying an undated ticket, we don't know. If you buy for game one, we don't know what day that's going to be until we know who we're playing. So it's kind of appointment viewing for the Checkers. So make sure you get on over there, get it done, get your tickets, fill the building, because I'll tell you, there's nothing like an electric building, and there's nothing like an electric Bojangles. So make sure you get your tickets. And if you're not traveling with the team up to Laval or up to Rochester, wherever we might be going, you can always tune in on Flow Hockey. You can tune in on the Charlotte Checkers app, the Mixler app, and Mixler.com, ESPNCLT.com. For the home games, we're on 92.9 FM WAME radio, as well as WAMEradio.com. So I'll be on the call for all the games. Of course, you guys know by now, 20 minutes before puck drop, we go on the air with the pre report. So jump in a little bit early, and we'll see you there. Guys, this was fun hanging out with y'all. Have a great Memorial Day. Might jump on and do another impromptu live on Sunday. We'll see. We'll see. I got plans in the evening, and I know it's a 4:30 game between these two teams, so maybe I'll jump on and just do a couple periods and then take off. And who knows, maybe even by then we might know a winner, because it could be much like tonight where it was 4-1 after 2, and we might already have a pretty darn good idea of who the Checkers will be playing in the next round. So we'll see y'all at the Coliseum, and until then, have a great night, everybody. Take care.